Dear students, let us start the discussion on 18 February 2016 newspaper. The former UN Secretary General Boutros Ghali, has recently passed away in Cairo. His legacy to the United Nations is always rememberable because he was chaired as the Secretary General during the toughest phases of the organization and during the transformative period of the world history. After the collapse of the Soviet Union and when the third world countries are going through the debt crisis in 1990s, Mr. Boutros Ghali, he was the Secretary General of United Nations Organization. At that point of time, his main task was to secure the independence of the organization from the hegemony of the United States of America. So in this context, there are two important documents which are produced by the United Nations. Even we refer in our developmental studies, they are Agenda for Peace and Agenda for Development. In this, he has categorically said that whatever today we are doing is just a facelift or superficial, symptomatic treatment of instability. So the fundamental questions which are in the social and economic milieu, the countries are not addressing them towards peace. The impoverishment is the reason for the global instability. So only the development can bring in better stability to the world is the argument which we has put forward through the agenda for development. Another important crisis situations which he got is this: the Rwandan genocide and Somalia crisis. These are occurred during his tenure. The Rwandan crisis is about Hutus and Tutsis. So here the Tutsis were massacred, who are the minority population over there. So if you get a chance, watch this movie, A Hotel in Rwanda, so which throws much insight onto that particular problem. And coming to the India-Nepal relationships, now this relationship is at a critical phase and it is a victim of growing Nepali nationalism, which is often seen as anti-Indianism. And the local politics in Nepal, especially if you observe, in the Nepal situation, the communist parties, they don't support the federalism and also the right to representation or effective representation for Madhesis. India has taken for the support of the Madhesis or threw its weight behind Madhesis, and it did not go well with the ruling regime over there. And finally, India's stand in support of the Madhesis has actually went against them, and it has hardened the stand of the ruling regime of the communist parties. The Nepali Congress, which has traditionally supported the Madhesi rights, also was unable to take forward any constitutional change. In this context, the recent steps which are taken up in Nepal, that is to constitute a political committee to review the boundaries of the provinces, one of the major demand of the Madhesis, and also providing for the proportional representation to various provinces and to various communities, and amending the citizenship rights which eliminate the Madhesis from taking up the constitutional positions are also being revisited now. It means a ground is already prepared for a better relations between the two countries. In this context, repeated use of the China card by the Nepal leaders, instigating of anti-Indian sentiments in the name of Nepali nationalism, all these are not good for these relationships. So on the front of India, Prime Minister Modi's neighborhood first policy has taken a deep beating with the Nepali crisis. And whatever the goodwill India built through earthquake assistance and also through the Prime Minister's visit, all has evaporated through the excessive media blitzkrieg in the Nepal earthquake coverage. So in this context, there is a deep-rooted resentment against India, which is seen as India or else acting as a super brother or big brother, and it is threatening the Nepali sovereignty. So however, in the Prime Minister's holy visit, both the countries shall take forward their particular aid promises which are given. So India has promised for total $2 billion of aid during the Prime Minister Modi's visit and also after Nepal earthquake. And second is the GMR and Sutlej Vidyut Nigam Limited. So both of them are about to take up certain electricity projects in Nepal and which have to be finished at the earliest. It will build the common ground for the redeployment or the establishment of the relationships to the next level. Now coming to the Mumbai Terror and David Headley issue. So in this, Mr. M.K. Narayanan, he poses some systemic questions. Mr. Headley did not offer anything new which the intelligence agents do not know. And second is, it exposes the short-term memory of the world towards the terrorism. The terrorist root cause is in the Afghanistan. So in 1990s, the jihad started in the Afghanistan has given the roots towards the so-called ISIS and all the Al-Qaeda and other factions. So the Pakistan has played a critical role in building the Afghan as a terror hub house of the world. On the other hand, the global countries and their intelligence agencies are not in a position to cooperate and share the information properly. So the Mumbai terror and related information was already available with UK and USA. Due to operational issues, they never shared it. So in this case, the improvement of cooperation between intelligence agencies is necessary to save the lives of the people from the terrorism. Coming to saving scheme, what this article talks about. Now, monetary policy benefits which are given by RBI, almost 125 points reduction, they are not being transferred to the customers. That is to the commercial banks did not transfer them to the citizens. Now, what is the reason? Now, parallel to the deposits taken by the banks, there are small savings schemes which are offered by the government at a higher interest rate. So, it is virtually affecting the deposit mobilization by the banks because people will be interested to keep the money in the small savings schemes rather than in the form of the deposits with the banks. And the banks are forced to keep the deposit rates at a higher level. So, higher the liabilities, higher shall be the cost of interest on the loans given by the banks to keep them operationally effective. This is one of the reasons why the monetary policy benefits are not transferred and the impact of the monetary policy is not really visible. So in this context, the government has recently made a decision that the small savings which are short term, such as Indira Vikasa Patras, etc., has to be reduced by 25% points. And on the long term, there is no change with regard to the interest rates. So in this case, this reduction on the short term schemes, it will reduce the total cost of the economy and will give a push to the growth and also will help in transferring the monetary benefits to the people, and it is a welcome sign. And coming to the Jammu and Kashmir and the lack of a government. And the lack of government is increasing a resentment to the people. And the governor's role or else lack of support of the Kashmiri parties towards the center, all this is providing for the sense of resentment, and it is not good for the national interest in India. As soon as possible, the differences have to be resolved and the stalemate has to end in Jammu and Kashmir. Coming to the United States and Iran, United States actually has planned a cyber attack on the Iran's Fordo's nuclear establishment. Its name was Nitro Juice. In the case, if the nuclear deal did not move forward. So this exposes altogether a different kind of threat to the world. Now the cyber attacks as a state policy for its strategic interests will damage or else will provide for a new weapon to control the unwanted regimes. So it's kind of a new cyber warfare is a typical example for this. Coming to South China Sea, China has already deployed 2 batteries of surface-to-air missile defense systems in South China Sea. So it is seen with suspicion by the Vietnam and Taiwan. And in this context, The South China Sea, where more than $2 trillion of the trade flows through, is under dispute again. So these are the important articles for today. Thank you very much.